Hi, hey Russ here. Welcome back to my shop. Today I want to talk about pocket screws. Just kidding. I know, we're done with the P word. But I do want to talk about my Incra Jig. One of the things that I have to do on my bandsaw is I resaw a lot of my wood. As you know, I've been doing some milling of some logs. And now I have to take those and break them down into slabs, and then I break them down further. So I've been doing a lot of resawing on my bandsaw. When I added the table on the back here, it kind of eliminated the fence system that I used to have on here. Because I used to be able to grab the table on both ends and pinch it together to make it lock down. And now that I got the table there, I can't do that. So I have to revamp my regular fence system. But in the meantime, temporarily, I got to do some resawing. So what did I do? I turned to old dependable, my Incra Jig. Now, if you take this jig and turn it up on the end like this, take a board that's square and flat, and I just used the pre-existing holes and I screwed it to the top of my Incra Jig so that it's set to the level to the front, to the face of my jig. And this gives me a pretty good fence to use on my bandsaw now. And I get that little extra room because if I put it on the face, I'll be losing a little bit more, and you'll see why that's important here in a second. So in order to use this thing, I'm going to use this as my reference surface for my Incra, this flat surface here. And if I slide this in here and set it to this digit here, 2 and 3/29, 2 and 3/32 of an inch. If I set this to that setting, which usually I can do this pretty quick and easy. Oh, boy, it's not easy. There we go. Usually I don't have much trouble. But anyway, and there it is. It's set right to my blade. So this means that using this setting, that's my zero out on this. So now if I want to do something out a ½ inch, let's say I want to take one of my blocks of wood and I want to cut it into ½ inch pieces to use around for a particular project, which is something I do want to do as a matter of fact. And so what I do is I can take my Incra Jig with the shop-made fence on here, and I can take, now that it's set to 0, if I want to, I can say, okay, let's set this back a ½ inch. So I know where my setting is, I can calculate it back and set it exactly where I want it, and I'll have exactly a ½ inch. But rather than do that math, actually most of the time on something like this, what I actually do is I just take my ½ inch brass bar, set it up against the blade, and now we just slide this up until it touches and drops down into one of the grooves of my Incra Jig. And then I check this. Like right now I'm getting a little bit of drag on there. So I'm actually going to look here and I'm going to turn that back 1/32 of an inch. So if I move that one click and snug this down, oh yeah, now that works. That's in there the way it's supposed to be. So now I know that I'm set to a ½ inch and I'm ready to do ½ inch pieces by my jig sitting here. But in all reality, I also know that if I'm going to make ½ inch slabs using my bandsaw, I really am going to have to put it through the planer or hand plane it down when I'm done, because that surface isn't going to be the best surface in the world. So what I'm going to do is add a 1/16 of an inch to this. Well, again, the Incra Jig makes that pretty easy to do, because I just look at where it is, loosen it up, move it 1/16 of an inch. Now, when I put my block in there, oh, look at there, I got a big gap. It looks like about a 1/16 of an inch, imagine that. So now I know that if I cut these to that dimension, I can run them through my planer a couple times and get it down to exactly a ½ inch, nice and clean and flat. And I do the rough cutting right on here. So now, in order for this to work, in order to get this to work, now all I have to do is make sure that I'm flat against here. That way I know I'm parallel here. fasten it to my tabletop, and I have a fence. And it just so happens I can actually take a couple of clamps and quickly and easily just clamp it down, and that's more than enough to hold this now for me to do some resawing. So I can resaw my boards up. It only took me a couple of minutes to set this up. Thank goodness the Incra Jig. I have one in the shop so I could do this. And when I'm done, I can put this back up in my shelf and be ready to use if I ever need it again. So this is a quick, easy little jig to have around the shop to do some of the odd jobs that you don't even know you're going to do or need it for until you need it. So without my regular fence system, until I get that redone, at least I can still do my resawing on here without any real hassle and do it pretty accurately by using my Incra Jig. So you might give this a try. If you don't have one of these in the shop, now you know why you probably should. At this point, I can just take the screws out, put that piece back in my scrap pile, close this up, and put it back where I store it when it's not in use. And it'll be there if I ever need to use that for some reason around the shop. I can just get it out and figure out how to use it and go from there. So it is handy, especially when you're thinking outside the box. I want to thank you for stopping. What? That? Oh, what is this? Oh, this is just a little light I got from Harbor Freight. Since my bandsaw is all metal, this has 4 magnets on it, so this works great. It has just a little toggle switch with LEDs in there, runs off a couple of AA's, and I just keep it under here, and it gives me a lot of light as I need. I can move it back here if I'm setting the scale. I can move it up here to watch my cut. So it's kind of handy to have. Yeah, I got this from a coupon for free, but they're about $4 or $5 at Harbor Freight. So it's very handy. It's a good place to have a light so you can get good light on your bandsaw when using it. Anyway, so much about that. I do want to thank you for stopping by. If you like this video, please say so. But most importantly, please come back again because we're nowhere near done. We'll see you again very soon.